Hear ye, internet serfs. The time has arisen for King Caspian's Proclamation number 1. I am happy to report that the kingdom of Veritasia has acquired its first new citizen. I'm officially making this proclamation number 0001 in a series of proclamations, and the proclamation involves 10 different statements based on what I have learned in the last 24 to 48 hours. Okay? But first I would like to introduce you to Archduke Brian Mize of the Shaklee Nation. Okay, that makes the Shaklee Corporation the very first company ever to support Veritasia Ministries in the history of the world. Okay, so my commitment to Archduke Brian Mize is to help him build his Shaklee group, and basically that is going to happen with or without his active participation. Okay, Brian Mize is a close personal friend of mine. He's in my personal inner circle. He is one step away from becoming a certified member of the Veritasian royal family. Okay, that's how close we are. And there are certain other requirements for the Veritasian royal family, such as, I have to establish that there is no conflict of interest between, say, the royal family of Veritasia and any given company that chooses to support our ministry. Okay? So it's not a matter of Brian getting out of Shaklee or cross-lining away from Shaklee in an unethical sense. I just want to establish that to whatever extent hard paper law becomes necessary, and even if I have to eventually separate Brian Mize himself as a member of the royal family from the Shaklee Corporation, in other words, drop his sponsorship contract with them, that is what I'm going to do. I'm not nearly experienced enough in hard paper law to understand what may or may not make that necessary. But there is a difference between being an archduke and a royal. And basically a royal is authorized to act in the interest of Veritasia Ministries and the entire Veritasia group worldwide. Okay. So anyway, Declaration of Intent, number 1. His Majesty's position is that no matter how long it takes me, I am going to fully repay the so-called overpayment assessed by the Social Security Administration of the Territorial United States. This is not a matter in the legalistic sense of who is right or even do I owe this money or not. This is a personal honor debt which I, as the Crown of Veritasia, owe to myself on the grounds that nobody ever calls me a thief and gets away with it, goddammit. Okay? Yes, I'm a preacher and I just swore. I didn't swear at you. Okay? What Christians don't understand is that there are appropriate times to swear, and it's not just about, using, quote-unquote, the cuss word or the curse word or swearing when you're angry or whatever. I'm going to show you that there's a whole new application for, okay, let's turn the system about and swear our oaths. Well, I don't even want to start teaching on that yet. Okay? If you are a Christian and you are offended by the context in which I used the words "God damn it" in the previous sentence, okay, then chances are you are an apocalypse fever Christian and we cannot do business. Okay, I will teach you why that is so at a later date. But anyway, I'm attempting to tell the truth here. This is a personal honor debt I owe to myself on the grounds that nobody ever calls me a thief and gets away with it, goddammit. Okay? The second thing I have learned is that the relationships in what the Blessed St. Jack C.S. Lewis called the Tao, okay, by which he meant ultimate reality, or the reality without any predicates, are an attempt to describe mankind's proper relationship to the universe. On the other hand, this is point 3, both science and magic, again, I'm basically going on the theories of the Blessed St. Jack. Both science and magic are actually attempts by man to try and bend the nature of the universe itself to his wishes. Okay? Now, Arthur C. Clarke formulated a doctrine known as Clarke's Law, which states that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. This is point 4. In His Majesty's opinion, there is a human problem with constantly trying to, quote-unquote, divide the sacred from the secular. Okay? My question is, what if holiness were actually a law of magic rather than a law of religion? I will get into that at a later date. Point 7. Within the last 24 to 48 hours, I learned about a concept called M theory. Now, M theory is the latest attempt by human science, human physics, to make God unnecessary in the real world. The interesting thing is, how did they actually do that? They did that, I don't have time to go into a long explanation, but they did that by postulating something that is actually bigger than the universe itself. So, what man's best idea about the nature of physics and, quote-unquote, why God is unnecessary is, right now, is that we're actually living in a multiverse of several dimensions not yet perceivable by man. Okay? And the only thing I'm going to attempt to prove or teach about that right now is, what did Jesus say about that? Okay? Because while I'm not a theological expert, I am a preacher of the gospel. That is my foundation. Okay? So, I'm trying to prove from Scripture, what did Jesus say about that? And he said, in my house there's there are many mansions. Okay? So, the problem is now you're trying to place a limit on God by saying that he is, quote unquote, merely the God of this universe. Okay? And here's another interesting theological error. Okay, Jesus said, "In my house are many mansions." Okay, well, my response is, it's not a matter of, let's get rid of God, because that violates my opening statements. That violates my philosophical framework. Okay. But doesn't it make sense that if God can create one universe, then he can also create many? Okay. So here's the problem. They basically made God bigger. They gave God more glory. Okay, in theological terms, they gave God more glory by trying to say that he was unnecessary. This is why I laugh at the whole process. My question is, here's another, opening assumption that I consider an error, a dangerous error. My question is, if, opening postulate, God created any given universe with any given set of physical laws, then why in hell would he not build any doors into it if he wanted them? Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? The opening postulate of, let's just grant that it is supposed, quote unquote, supposed to be the atheistic system of M theory. Okay, because the reason they call it M theory is this is pure mathematics. Okay, the problem that Robert Heinlein identified with pure mathematics is that, mathematics is a set of symbols. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's a neutral way of describing the universe. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself because each individual symbol means something. So the whole system of mathematics has to be beyond symbology or above symbology. Okay? Ultimately, you cannot get any meaning out of mathematics itself, by itself, because the meanings are inherent in the individual symbols. So, like, the entire system of mathematics can be used to prove anything you like, and because it can prove anything you like, it also proves nothing in and of itself. Okay. All right. And don't worry if you don't understand that. I don't understand half of it myself, but I'm just following Holy Spirit with what he's telling me to say. So my question is, if God created any given universe with any given set of physical laws, then why in hell would he not build any doors in it? In other words, the idea that the human beings who set up this M-theory system want to believe about their opening postulate that there is no God. Okay, and the thing is, I'm not discounting the idea that there are there are theistic scientists. Okay, there are theistic physicists. All right, and it's just a matter of you're starting from different opening postulates. But there is a problem with opening from a postulate of proving scientifically that there is no God, which is the argument of master intellectuals like Richard Dawkins, for example. See, I want to highlight the certain interrelationships between religion and politics. Okay. The thing that Christianity postulates that these people are ignoring is that there is a human desire to prove that since God is unnecessary, quote unquote, then there is no final what they mean by there is no final judgment. What the average human being means by there is no final judgment is, I hope there is no final judgment other than judgments made by man. In other words, I as a human being am the master of the universe, of my personal universe. See, that's where that's in logic, that's a principle called the reductio ad absurdum. If you take that argument far enough, if you take any given argument far enough, you eventually run into an absurdity somewhere. Okay. But there is a human desire to prove that, quote unquote, since God is unnecessary, then there is no final judgment by anyone other than man. But when you think that way, I would submit that when you think that way, and this is ultimately just a personal opinion, okay? I have opening biases just like anybody else. But when you think that way, you are only postulating that God is an alien. Okay? Or God is an alien to me as an individual. Okay? Here's the problem is that is an opening postulate of Christianity, folks. Okay? We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Part of what they mean theologically by that is that God is, begins as an alien idea to most people. Okay, and if there's a personal God, then he would certainly be an alien person to most people. All right. The miracle of Christianity is it also postulates literally, it also postulates quite literally that God became a man in order to do what would save us from sin. Okay. You are proving that you are not necessarily proving that there is no God, however much you want to prove that as an a priori assumption or an opening postulate. You're only proving that God is an alien. The problem is that that's been stipulated inside Christianity as a system. Okay? So you're actually agreeing with me whether you know it or not. Okay. This was, this is a well-known philosophical position called Pascal's wager, which Blaise Pascal, the mathematician Blaise Pascal, basically said, I would rather believe that there is a God because, okay, if I'm correct in assuming that there is a God, then, you know, my attempts to live a moral life will come to mean something eventually. However, if I'm trying to take as an opening postulate that there is no God and I'm wrong, okay, then there are actually eternal consequences and so on and so forth. Just to keep to the Christian frame of reference here. But anyway, it's already been done. It's called Pascal's wager. My commitment to Brian Mize, to Archduke Brian Mize, is to build his Shackley business, and in order to build his Shackley business, that requires me to build my own Empower Network team, and by implication, my commitment to David Wood requires me to set an intention to go after my millionaire ring, that is, to become an effective wizard. Okay? So my hope is that people are beginning to understand the interrelationships of what I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily saying that I will become, quote-unquote, a wizard of mastering the marketing technology of YouTube. That's a possible direction that my business and my ministry could take right now, because I'm doing a lot of my research on YouTube. Okay, and YouTube is basically the top level domain, the biggest player on the internet with whom I have any hope of developing a good citizenship relationship. Okay, they're the biggest 900-pound gorilla that I can reach right now. You know, I haven't learned how to reach Google. When I learn how to reach Google, then by definition, you know, to whatever scale I want to take it, my traffic problem is solved. Okay, because by that point I will know, you know, why I'm investing money with whichever forms of advertising I'm using, and what is the big complaint against Google? Okay, the big complaint against Google is being the 10,000-pound gorilla they are. Okay, the complaint of the average citizen advertiser against Google is, I'm a small-scale player and I don't know how much I should be spending on Google, so now Google is demanding too much money of me to keep my business afloat. Alright? And the bottom line to that, folks, is that ultimately Google is the top of every funnel on the internet on the planet right now. Okay, or at least I can make that argument. There is no competition at a certain level between Google and anybody else. Okay, the quote-unquote competition for market share between Google and Yahoo, okay, is about mega corporations trying to influence people, you know, quote-unquote, away from each other. Okay, you know, every marketer dreams of, well, if I was the only provider of XYZ on the planet, you know, if I were a monopoly, then literally everybody on the planet would have to be paying me for such and such a service. Okay, well, the real world doesn't work that way. At the level of an individual user, when you understand how it actually works, there is no competition for, quote unquote, your business as an individual. There's nothing wrong with you having a Google account and a Yahoo account and a LinkedIn account and a Twitter account and whatever. It's just a matter of your positioning in the food chain. Okay. So anyway, my commitment to Archduke Brian Mize is to build his Shackley business, which requires me to build my own Empower Network team, and thus my commitment to David Wood requires me to set an intention to go after my millionaire ring, that is, to become an effective wizard. Okay? If you don't understand anything about what I'm talking about, do not worry, because this is going to stay up for as long as necessary. Okay, this is simply His Majesty's Proclamation number 1. We have a population of 1 registered Veritasian citizen, and frankly, for the level of experience that I have now, I'm very, very happy with that result. Okay? I'm making this public, trying to make a briefer video than before, because, okay, the fact, the hard paper law of Brian Mize joining up with me was actually settled in the back room before I made a public proclamation. Okay? And so basically, I'm coming to the conclusion that, basically there's always more work to do. There's always more work to do, which is a nice situation to be in. But one of the things I'm learning about economies of scale is if I'm not getting the signals or the results that I want, then I go back and work on myself as an individual first. Okay? Because the process goes, once I work on myself using the symbols that I understand, then I can work on making my knowledge more public, more briefly. Okay? But the thing is, you have to work on yourself privately, and this is what happens when I run into what I call a firewall situation. It doesn't make me quit. It just says, okay, my communication to literally everybody I can reach who can make a significant result for me is, it's wearing thin. So I need to go back and work on myself. Okay? So, that is the presentation, the sermon, the marketing ploy, whatever you want to call it, for Sunday, the 22nd of June. Is it the 22nd or the 23rd? Yeah, it's the 22nd of June in the year of our Lord 2014. Veritasia lives, and I'm out of here.